So welcome to this session on Pearson and Power Maths. We're joined here today by Carly, Simon and Michael, who are going to be talking you through things. So I'm going to stop at that point and hand over to them. I will just mute myself and I hope you enjoy your session, everyone.
Thanks, James. Hi, everyone. I'm Simon Holden-White from Pearson. I'm going to give a very brief introduction just about Power Maths, just to set the context. So this session is going to be about blended learning with Power Maths, and we've got Michael and Carly from St John Fisher School in Knowsley who are going to talk to us about what that looks like in their school. I thought it would be good just to very quickly say something about Power Maths and what resources are actually available. As a quick bit of background. So if you don't know already, Power Maths is a whole class mastery program which we developed in partnership with White Rose Maths, and it's recommended by the DFE. So how can teachers use Power Maths when some children are at home? Well, to start off with, there is a large range of digital resources which teachers can allocate for children to access via their own logins. So that includes e-textbooks, teaching tools which have the structures and representations we use in the program, fluency starters called power-ups, and strengthen and deepen activities as well, which you can use to stretch children and give extra support where you need to. So as well as all of those materials, in the last year, we've also added quite a lot of videos to Power Maths. In Power Maths, each lesson starts with a problem in context. And the videos are designed to bring that to life as a way into the lesson if children are doing it at home. So children can pause the video, think about it, answer the questions that are posed in the video, and that's a really nice lead-in to the lesson. I'm mentioning that particularly just now because I don't think anyway that Michael and Carly are particularly going to talk about the videos, so I wanted to just mention them. There's not a video for every lesson, but they do help children and parents get the idea at home of how you can work through and think through a lesson remotely. So doing things remotely with Power Maths, so you've got all those allocatable digital resources, but you can also present the digital resources, of course, via a live remote lesson via video conferencing, and you could record that and share that with children as well. So those are all things that you can do. And just a thought as well that if you want to reduce screen time for children at home, of course, we've got the print books and children can look at those at home, the textbooks and the practice books. So just finally to say, there are tons of challenges for teachers at the moment. I don't envy you with everything that you've got to do, but it is amazing to see actually how teachers are kind of grasping the different situation and doing really creative things, learning from the previous lockdown and everything like that. But I wanted to say, I'm going to pop a link in the chat, which you might want to just look at later. In fact, I think I've already copied it. Let's pop that in the chat now. And this is a link to our website. And it's just a page where we've given some pointers about how you can decide what to teach in this different situation, how you can identify and fill gaps in children's learning using the program, how you might do things differently, I guess. And there's a webinar there which we recorded at the start of the autumn term to help with the thought processes for everything that's different. So that might be useful for after the session. So we've got Michael, who is the deputy head and the maths lead and the year 6 teacher at St John Fisher. And we've got Carly as well, who's part of the SLT and the curriculum lead and the year 4 teacher, I believe.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask some questions, and you're going to get a chance to ask questions as well. So you can think about that as we go along. I'm going to start by asking Michael, could you tell us a little bit about your school?
So first of all, I think just hello to everyone, and it's nice to have a little chill out on a Saturday morning, isn't it, when we've been teaching very hectically all week. Myself and Carly are extremely proud to teach in St John Fisher. We're both from Knowsley, so we're from similar backgrounds to the backgrounds in which our children are from. And our vision at our school is at St John Fisher we shine, and that's ensuring that our children shine, our staff shine, and actually at the minute we're really acknowledging the fact that our parents are shining and our parents are really supporting us as a school to ensure that the children are fully engaging in these remote learning sessions. So St John Fisher is a one-form entry primary school in Knowsley Village. The school is growing. We've just opened a nursery just over 18 months ago. Last week we're the runner-up, unfortunately the runner-up, but we are still proud of this, at the Educate Awards for Leadership Team of the Year. About 12 months ago, just before we went into lockdown, we did a challenge partner review and we were lucky enough to be accredited as an area of excellence for leadership and vision of our curriculum, and Carly had a huge part in that, so it's fantastic that Carly's here today. As a school, we put a huge emphasis on CPD. We have staff forums and teachers going out there and taking responsibility for their own learning. And as I said before, a huge part of our school is the vision and ensuring that we shine, and we feel that all elements of Power Maths and the way in which we are delivering remote learning at the minute support that.
Great. Could you give us a quick feel for how you were using Power Maths, what you were doing with Power Maths in school before the pandemic came along, kind of before we then talk about, about how you've adapted?
Okay, so before I arrived at the school, myself and Carly arrived at the same time, which was September 2019, which feels like a very long time ago now, considering everything that's happened within the world since that point. And when we arrived at the school was using a variety of resources, dipping into White Rose, dipping into other elements, other schemes. And I had previously had experience of using Power Maths for 18 months as a Year 2 teacher. I had successful moderation in that school, and by introducing Power Maths, it really ensured that we had consistency across. Carly was very experienced in using another mastery programme. And when I came to the school, I shared with the head teacher, Michelle, and Carly, my experience of Power Maths, and we are very lucky at our school to have such an open head teacher who really buys into our enthusiasm and allows us to, go with the things that we are passionate for. So in school, we introduced Power Maths across from Year 1 all the way to Year 6. We decided that we didn't want to use the official training that we could get from Pearson's, but that I would lead that training. And I used materials that were really evidence-based upon children. And it was another Knowsley school where I'd used the programme. So it was about ensuring and showing to the teachers, this is how it worked in a similar school to us. And Carly will probably agree with me, but we are extremely lucky that our staff are very open and
definitely
took on board straight away with the approach. The real hook and the buy-in, I suppose, was the fact that the wellbeing side of it, the resources were there. We didn't have to spend all of our weekends trying to find resources. We spent our weekends ensuring that we were able to fully assess the children, find out exactly where they were up to, but also plan those probing questions to get to the tips deeper into that iceberg to ensure the children had that mastery knowledge. We again, just before lockdown, we started to look at the Oaks Academy. Just as lockdown approached this time last year, we started to look at the Oaks Academy, and we started to think about how we can support our children at home. And around about summer 1 last year, we started to think about, okay, this is okay, but we actually want to ensure that our children at home are getting a very similar curriculum or a diet to those children in school. And we started to experiment, I suppose, with Zoom sessions. And at that point, it was very much teachers going out to the classroom and engaging in a session with the children at home. And that has now evolved to what we're doing today.
Great. So could you talk, or you can jump in, Carly, if you want, but I'll just ask the next question now, which is going to be, to describe how you do teach maths, how you have been teaching maths during this lockdown. But feel free to backtrack if you want to.
I'll carry on with a little bit of that. Yeah, I went on to the next question there. Apologies. In school at the minute, we got that announcement of Boris at 8:30 on that Monday night, and I'm sure as every other leadership team in the country, we started to panic quite quickly. Myself and the head went to school at 8:30 that night and were able to get in touch with our key workers and our vulnerable children, because we hadn't shut school for one day and we didn't want it to be because we were given such late notice that we were going to shut the next day, so we didn't. We had our children in school on the Tuesday, and we decided pretty much straight away we are going to go for live Zoom sessions. And I'm sure you're all aware that last week was Children's Mental Health Week, and straight away, to an extent, quite a few of us, myself included, became a little bit anxious. Hang on, I've got to look as if I'm really calm and really happy with doing these live sessions, but actually inside, I am starting to feel a little bit anxious. And as staff, we were told that we were going to start delivering those sessions from the following Monday. However, this is for me another way in which our staff at school shine. Pretty much by the end of the next day, everyone in school had to go with doing a live session. And the reason why we did that is because we were all anxious and we didn't want to go over the weekend panicking. So we all had to go with doing a live session. The live session consists of 10 to 12 children that we had in our class anyway, because our school numbers, as I'm sure all of yours are quite high at the minute because there's so many key workers and so many vulnerable children. So we had our 12 children sitting at the back and pretty much with a laptop in front of us delivering the session. We had the chat enabled, so we were able to constantly feedback and assess the children. And suddenly we were all coming onto the corridors going, actually that wasn't as bad as what I thought it was going to be. And I haven't now got to go and deliver the same session in another room to another group of children. And it also enabled the children in the class and the children at home to have that interaction with each other. So actually, a huge weight suddenly started to lift. We weren't that worried anymore about delivering these sessions, and we were also not worried about or feeling guilty about the children at home that weren't quite getting the same diet. So I think that, I would say pretty much that's where we're up to at the minute. We feel...
Sorry, Michael, I was just going to say, I think you're right about the anxiety side of it. Teachers did feel a little bit wary about this new, we've been practiced on doing before, just doing it on camera, but this time we were standing up, delivering our lessons when you've got parents at home listening in as well, and you're trying to make sure the kids are getting the best from you in class and the kids at home are. But I think if we were to ask all of our staff, and Michael, I'm sure would agree that we do 3 live lessons a day, and out of all of them, Power Maths will probably be the one that staff are most confident in delivering live. And I think the online resources that Simon was talking about before have a lot to do with that. And the fact that it is a good, solid, well planned out scheme of work where your questioning's done for you, and you've got these lovely visuals up on the screen. I think that definitely has helped teacher confidence as well and overcome that anxiety.
Must be quite something to kind of get over doing the first few lessons. Does it vary much between year groups what you're doing?
It doesn't, Michael, does it? We're starting from, if we think from year 1 up to year 6, our children have Power Maths lessons live each day, and we use the same approach. We teach to the children who are in class and same to the children at home as well.
For me, there's a slight difference, I would say, probably in year 5 and year 6. We've gone for the approach of the children switching the cameras off, just because sometimes as the children get a little bit older, I'm sure you can all imagine, some of the children could be putting some funny faces in the middle of a session. So we have gone for the screen switched off. The children are all muted in our sessions, but we can unmute them, and they in the chat only respond to the class teacher, so there is consistent assessment. The children input their sessions, their answers into the chat, and if I've got an answer off someone within 10 minutes, I'm saying to them, are you on your PlayStation or are you watching maths? And suddenly we'll receive another answer in the chat quite quickly. So we've adapted it slightly, I would suppose, lower down the school. So some of the year 1 and year 2 sessions, after being a year 2 teacher myself, they don't stay on the session for the full hour. However, further up the school, we have found that it is easier for us as teachers to facilitate that session and to stay within the session, because when we were leaving the session, we were getting quite a lot of class dojo questions on, saying, I'm stuck, how do we do this? We're actually now, we can unmute the child and say, right, tell me what you're stuck on. Let's collaborate with the class, someone in class explain to whoever it is how you work this problem out. And last week we definitely said to the children, go and get a packet of biscuits and let's use the biscuits as our 10s and 1s to try and just grab any sort of concrete resources that we could at home, to try and develop that mathematical understanding. Just to say as well, we do use Power Maths in reception, but it's adapted slightly and we use other elements there to ensure that holistic approach. But we do use the calculation policy from reception, and we do use the characters, and we have as a school really ensured that the characters match our vision of shining, and we use learning powers in school. So all of our characters have got learning powers, so certain characters will be collaborating, certain characters will be problem solvers, and that has really just enabled us to match that maths, the Power Maths, into our curriculum.
And I think our reception children and nursery children are still accessing lessons as well. Maths lessons aren't the online. We do our Zoom sessions in the same way for those early years as well.
And that's been working okay doing that to early years? Nothing but all that different?
No, they've been using number blocks, they've been using supertising, they used lots of manipulatives there. Obviously, there's lots of wake up and shake ups and lots of practical maths going on. The sessions are very short for our early years children, obviously because of their stage and age of development, and to ensure that they're engaged throughout the sessions.
You got me thinking there about the chat, that when we ask people to contribute questions, then I'm maybe going to get a taste for this kind of looking at tons of questions and things in the chat at once and kind of picking them out, which I guess must be part of what you have to do. I'm just going to mention, you were talking about the characters there, and just for people that don't know, we built a growth mindset really into the heart of the Power Maths programme, and Michael's very helpfully flashing a
Bart was there.
Yeah, but we've got 4 characters and a cat, which was on the front of that book. The characters appear throughout the materials, exemplifying growth mindset characteristics that we want children to display as well. So that's just something about the characters. Where should we go next? You were talking a bit about biscuits there, Michael. So it made me think. Manipulatives. Did you manage to? Did children have stuff at home? Did you send anything home, or do they find stuff around the house?
Yeah, we haven't sent resources home as such for the children to use. We've just encouraged our children at home to be creative where possible, to use coins in place of counters where they can, and yeah, just general objects from home. One thing that we found, and this is, I suppose, the perk of doing it live with children in class and children at home as well, is that if the children in class have got the manipulatives out, we might have, I would screen mirror the iPad to the board and would hold the iPad as a visualizer over the children using the manipulatives. You know, after they've done the discover part, and I'm saying, okay, prove to me your answer, and I would hold it over so that using of the manipulatives is displayed on the board. The children at home can see that as well. Alternatively, you've got the resources online as well, but to use as you're teaching your lesson on the screen. But ultimately, we just encourage our children to be creative with what they have, and we'll give them notice if we know they're going to need something to use within the lesson. We'll tell them beforehand so they've got it prepared. Yeah, I think anything else to add to that, Michael?
I just think we're obviously aware of the fact that Power Maths supports the concrete, pictorial and abstract approach, and within the Power Maths books, a lot of the pictorial evidence is there, so we're encouraging the children as much as possible to use that. Last week in Year 6, I was doing multiplying and dividing by 10, 100 and 1,000, and it was pretty much children draw your own place value chart now. Stick a Smartie in it and move the Smarties across. It's just basically whatever it is you've got available. To do that, we use a bit of blue tack, use a bit of Play-Doh, whatever it is you've got.
So how has having a scheme and having the Power Maths materials helped you in terms of everything that you've been doing to teach differently in this scenario? I
think first and foremost, as I mentioned earlier, teacher confidence. It definitely enables our teachers to be as wonderful as they are day to day in school, you know, via Zoom as well for our children at home. From a senior leader point of view, and I'm sure Michael will agree with this as well as maths lead, proud to say that, you know, very, very little learning has been lost in regards to maths for our children at home. The only reason that they would not be able to access the maths lesson is if they choose not to take part. We're very lucky in that we've been able to have devices to give to children at home. So we're aware of those children who may have needed support or may have needed technology to help with the delivering the lesson, accessing the lesson. So we've been quite lucky there. But
our attendance is very high, isn't it, as well, Carly? So our attendance in all classes is 80% plus for the live sessions, and in Year 6 it's 97%. So we have got a real high expectation that the children should be at those sessions, and if they're not, there's a reason why they need to provide why they're not.
Well, we know that our kids are getting an excellent maths curriculum, the best that we can offer at the moment. There's that consistency approach from last year. As Michael said, we used Oaks early on, and that's brilliant. It's a great resource that's out there, but we knew coming back, especially using a scheme where each year builds on each other, that there were going to be gaps. We knew that. And I think this time we've done our very best to minimise and eliminate them gaps by ensuring that we're just delivering our curriculum as normal, you know, as best we can to those children at home as well, and having those high quality slides that I mentioned before, easy access, easy visual, nice visuals for the kids at home, the children in class being able to talk to the kids on the screen as well. It creates that classroom environment. So I think Power Maths has helped to create a sort of normality in some ways.
We're saying as well, all of our children have got their Power Maths book at home, so I know some schools have decided to keep these, but because they're so cheap, £1.99 per book, you know, we have decided to send them home. Both myself and Carly's class have isolated at separate points, and I've taken these books home and brought them back. And it's really easy for us to track what the children have completed. So for us, it was just a no-win. The books have gone home as well. And we've just done some parental surveys, and the parents are putting on that about how easy the math sessions are because of the fact that we've got these books and how they're so engaging in sessions. So I think that supports, again, us using this approach.
I was wondering, with teaching for mastery and trying to keep the class together and move on together, is it more difficult with children at home to assess and make sure that they're ready to move on to the next lesson? What do you do about that?
Well, I think within the Power Maths lesson itself, there's so many opportunities for those little bits of assessment for learning as you're going through, because the lesson's so structured and it kind of builds on as you go through it, and it offers you those opportunities for assessment. But in class, we are continuing to do it the same way we normally would. You know, we've got the children using the manipulatives, TA and the teacher are circulating around, listening out for the discussion between the children. At home, we are ensuring that looking at the chat, you know, the children are able to respond in the chat to us. We're unmuting the children to be part of that class discussion. And if we hear those misconceptions, or, you know, children are just not quite grasping it, we're able to, I mean, it's not flawless by any means, you know, and it's not as ideal as it would be in the classroom, but it's definitely allowing us to see, right, that child's not quite got that at the moment, or you can see there's a bit of understanding generally being missed at home. And one thing we found as being quite useful is we, in Power Maths Day to Day anyway, we do same day intervention with our TA in the afternoon for those kids who've not quite grasped the concept or the learning that lesson. And we have been inviting our children at home. You know, we've picked up on Zoom, we've just, you know, been a bit insecure. They've asked you too many questions where you think you've explained it well. We've invited them to come to that Zoom session where it's the TA with those group of children who is working with that day, that afternoon, and they can be part of it as well, the children at home. So we try to ensure no one's left behind, really.
I think the other thing to say is, from my point of view, I always get the children to satellite the session and input it into the chat. So at the end of it, I've got that grasp of, right, these two children do need some first day quality intervention now to ensure that they've got those basic building blocks to build upon their learning with. And actually, the majority of the class are ready to move forward.
Have you got any children, this is from the floor, by the way, I'm going to intersperse them a little bit. So yeah, have you got any children who can't access the internet, don't have a device to do that?
In school we've got we don't get many laptops from the DFE, although we're in a deprived area. Our school actually isn't classed as being one of the most deprived in that area. So actually I think we've got 6 laptops for the whole school, and those laptops are all out. We are also now, if they need it, loaning out some of our own school iPads, but we are pretty much now at the point where everyone in school can access. We've now been contacting any children who are accessing the lessons on phone and saying to them, actually there's an iPad here. I don't know about any other schools, but we've also got some SIM cards with data on for anyone who's struggling to access broadband. I think they're from Vodafone and we got them free. And it's a case of us being able to give those out to ensure that our children are being able to access the provision.
Sorry, I was just going to say, Stan and Michael's really on the ball with our attendance as well. As he said before, he was able to reel off the numbers of kids that have been accessing the lessons at home. We take registers for our attendance sessions, and we the ones who are missing, you know, earlier on, it was easy and made it easier for us to say, okay, this child's not accessing lessons regularly. Why is that? Is it because there's siblings at home and sharing a device? And like I said, we're not a school that has a lot of pupil premium money. We're not a school that, you know, has is in a high area of deprivation in our particular school, but we're using what we've got to support the kids at home as best we can. And we've got a lot of kids in at the moment as well.
Someone's just asked in the chat there about how we're chasing up the children who are not attending the sessions. We basically have the iPad next to us with Class Dojo on, saying the session has started. Your child, this is a progressive scheme that builds on lessons step by step, and if your child's not here, they're going to struggle with the next lesson, and pretty much straight away it'll ping. Or we say to the children, go on your WhatsApp now and tell whoever's not here to get here quick, and straight away then they are on the session. The class that gets the best attendance gets a pizza party at the end of it, so we're very competitive about ensuring that we get in Domino's at the end of it, and Carly's already had it and I haven't, so Year 6 is going to win this time.
That happens every half term anyway, doesn't it? It's just now, you know, on Zoom as well.
That's a brilliant tip. Do you think anything would be different if you were a 2 or 3 form entry school?
I've worked in a 4 form entry junior school and a 3 form entry primary school prior to working in St John Fisher, and I pretty much would say that it was actually big for me, probably a little bit easier. I was in a bigger school because it might be that one person creates that basic plan or that basic PowerPoint, and then obviously teachers would then go in and manipulate it to fit the needs of their class, but I wouldn't see it being any much of a bigger problem. I think you could perhaps actually have 1 or 2 teachers facilitating the session and maybe 1 or 2 going into breakout rooms to support any children that are struggling. But I can't see it being any different from where we're up to at the minute. I know Carly was in a Zoom session with some children from Lancaster yesterday, and there were lots of children involved with 2 teachers. We were doing a little bit of pen pal writing, and I know that Carly found that really useful. So actually, from my point of view, from previously working in a 3 or 4 form entry school, I can't see any issue with that.
Somebody's been asking a question about fractions, and I think, and someone else kind of echoing it, and I think saying, wondering about whether to teach it with children at home or whether to leave it for when they're back in class. I think you might have told me that you had considered some topics that you didn't necessarily want to do on children at home, or if they didn't have a ruler, they couldn't measure shapes. Yeah. It
was long division. I just found out that we were going into lockdown for 10 days, and I came up to teach in long division, and I thought, like, this is hard enough trying to do this in class. Then trying to do it across Zoom, we had a little go, but actually we decided to leave that. I know, for example, we did an analysis of what our children missed last year. Lots of what was missed in Year 3 and Year 4, with particularly fractions. So at the minute, I'm just ensuring teachers to go with the long-term plan, giving them that ownership of going with it, but actually getting in touch with me and saying, I think I should put this unit at a different point. And, you know, that's not ideal because it's a progressive unit and it's been, you know, the scheme is being planned in a certain way. However, we're not dealing with the, you know, certain times, are we? So it's about us ensuring that we're giving the children the best provision that we can in the best way possible. And I think if you feel a fraction is better off being taught when they return to school, you're the teacher. This is a scheme that's there to support you as the teacher, but actually we are the professionals that know our children the best, and I feel that you as the teacher should go with what you think. I don't know what anyone else thinks about that.
No, I completely agree. You're absolutely right. It's hard to deliver some concepts over Zoom, no matter how easy no matter how clearly you model it on the screen. I think some things are just easier face to face, and Michael's right. You know, as a teacher, you've got to be flexible and use that judgment to say, right, okay, we just need to put this on hold and we'll address it when we've got a full class of children back. I think you're spot on, Michael.
I've just taught coordinates as well, and it was one of those ones where I thought, oh, this is going to be horrific, and actually we did it and it worked. It was all right, the children's knowledge of it was really good, and they were all playing battleships at the end of the coordinate battleship, so they really did engage them, so it did work.
Be harder for people to sneak up behind you and look at your board if you were doing it remotely. It sounds quite good. There's a question about special educational needs. I think I'd like to sort of try and answer it. Well, in terms of how to, you know, what you can do with the example is of children working at Year 1 level in a much higher year group. And I think I won't I could maybe try and answer separately, generally, and with Power Math, what can you do about that? But in terms of maybe Michael and Carly, is there anything you've done differently for special educational needs? I guess the question.
I think we've ensured that they've got those concrete resources, but ensuring that every child has got those concrete resources. And I think what I do is, if you look at the beginning part of the session, some of the questions in the Power Maths book at the beginning are a lot more fluency based. And it's about ensuring that children have got that real firm grasp of that whilst also ensuring that they're still being exposed to the variation and the problem solving. So in the main teaching session, we expose the children to the problem solving, the reasoning, but actually maybe within the session, when they're working independently, they are just accessing some of those fluency elements to ensure they've got those basic firm foundations. What I will say is, the longer that I've been teaching Power Maths, there are less and less children that can't access the Year 6. And I think it's also a really good tool for ensuring that your expectations are high, and about the fact that those children should be getting that quality first teaching, and I know that we're all doing that, and it's easier said than done. But I think it's about you as the teacher using your knowledge to give the children that diet the best that you can, but also ensuring that they can succeed.
I think for those children at home, I've got one child in particular at home who does in school require, I've got 19 in my class in, so there's a high number of children in, but this one in particular child would require a lot of scaffolding in class, and that would be through the manipulatives and through adult support as well during the lesson. For her at home, we've been doing extra sessions with the TA via Zoom, but also, when Michael said earlier, we stay on for the whole Zoom lesson. So when the children actually come to do the workbooks, they're not looking at the screen, so their eyes are away and their eyes are down on the workbooks at home. But if they do come to a question which they just don't understand, or they need that little bit more kind of, the questions to run open-ended and we need to follow a little bit more for them and so they can answer it, we're there. We're very lucky that we've got a TA in the classroom as well who can support the children in class while we are engaging with the children at home. But I think at home, it's just supporting where you can and how you can. Again, it's not ideal, it's not perfect, but we try to be there as much as we can for the kids, and those extra sessions with the TA, doing strengthening activities as well is definitely useful to look into.
Power Maths has got challenges in there for the more able children and those deepening activities to ensure that we are continuing to stretch those children, and we don't have to go at the same speed to keep pushing those brighter children on.
Right, so Rebecca, just to say, I don't mind sending more kind of thoughts on using Power Maths with children with special educational needs separately, for the general thing rather than the kind of remote questions that we're mostly doing now. Michael and Carly, do you use maths exercise books as well as the practice?
So we use maths jotters alongside, and the reason why we do that is to ensure that those less able children have got evidence of how they are problem solving, how they are reasoning, and yet it might be with the support of their peer. But we found we were losing lots and lots of evidence by rubbing it off a whiteboard. So now we have a jotter instead, and the children keep those jotters alongside the Power Maths book. All the work that we mark is in the Power Maths book, and at the minute they are self-marking so that we don't have to touch the book, so there's that limited passing, spreading any germs. But in terms of the jotter is for them. They do put verbal feedback in. If we are at home, I will say to the children, if you've got that question wrong and I've just explained it to you, go and put the F next to it, so when you bring your book back to school, you can see how my feedback has had an impact upon your learning. But yeah, we do have a jotter, and the jotters are brilliant from a monitoring point of view for myself when I'm monitoring the teacher.
I think as well, from a child's point of view, as like a resource, we all want our kids to be independent learners and be resilient and resourceful, and if they've recorded a specific method or strategy to solve a problem earlier on in the Power Maths lesson, if it's wiped off a whiteboard, you can't go back and say, oh, that's how I solved that one, and that might help me with this question here. You can open your jotter back up and go back. How did you answer or discover today? How did we work out things together? So it's for them as a tool to go back and look at as well, if it's in the jotter.
Here's a general question for you both. Do you think everything you've been doing for remote learning and lockdown. Are there things that you'll do permanently off the back of what you've done?
You know what, we had this discussion on the phone about half an hour ago because we were both a little bit unsure about what to put for this answer. I think probably we're pretty much doing what we were doing in school originally. Yeah. I now take pictures of the Power Maths before I put them on the screen. That would be the only thing that I would say, but it takes ages, so I probably won't carry on doing that when I go back to school, if I'm being really honest. But I think we're pretty much using what we were doing in school. So all these grey hairs aren't off the actual remote, just the way it is. Can I just say, if anyone does want to contact us for any reason, we are happy to share our emails. I don't know whether White Rose will do that, but if anyone does want to contact myself or Carly, we are happy for you to contact us and ask us.
Does that work, James?
Yeah, if you want to, if you're happy to, that is, you can pop your email into the chat box. If you're happy to do that, feel free.
What was I going to go with next? Oh, somebody asked me, I think right at the beginning, about the videos I was talking about. So if you're using Power Maths and you go to the resources page, you log into Power Maths and then click the resources tile, then under the type of resources is called pupil video. So if you click pupil video in the filters on the left-hand side of the resources page, that's where you'd find the videos. I think somebody asked, or I'm not looking at it now, about how you add set the children up for their own logins, and that is you can do that again in ActiveLearn. There's a button in the top right called Admin, and there you can add your children to set them up on ActiveLearn, and you can do it with you can put a spreadsheet in to add them all at once.
Yeah. It is straightforward. That we've done that as a school. We use it for book club and all sorts of other, so for reading as well as maths, but yeah, it is straightforward to put them.
Great. I'm flicking through thinking we're near the end now. Okay, we only got the hard cut off, I think. James, do you want us to stop, or should we give Michael and Carly a chance to say anything last at the end?
If you can squeeze it into a minute, feel free to just sum it up. Yeah.
Any tips?
I would say tips for doing online lessons: don't be afraid to go for it. I was at first, like Michael said before, but it soon very quickly becomes very natural, so just go for it.
And maybe put your restrictions on at first with the video.
Oh yeah.
As you get more used to it, take those restrictions off. We have started letting them have the cameras on a little bit now, so maybe just be quite strict with them at first. Ensure you've got those high expectations.
Yeah.
No television on, no pajamas, and ready for the sessions. And just to say, we really enjoyed being here this morning. Thank you for listening to us. And
definitely.
We hope some impact, so thank you.
Thank you.
We do love Power Maths. We'll say that as well. We do.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. James, you can finish if you like.
Yeah, thank you. No, thank you. I think it's always useful to just hear experiences from other teachers in other schools, so that we don't feel quite so alone, and also to know that it's not all swimmingly well everywhere else, and it's just you guys. So it is just really nice to hear, but also how you're using certain resources to help you. So thanks a lot, guys. I hope it was useful.